thesis, entitled The Translation of Humor, the Case of the American Sitcom Friends, focuses on audiovisual translation and explores one of the most challenging aspects of language mediation, translating humor while preserving its comic effect. I chose Friends as my case study because it is one of the most successful and internationally recognized American sitcoms. The series makes extensive use of wordplay, sarcasm, cultural references, and idiomatic expressions, all of which make it particularly interesting from a translation perspective. Translating humor is much more than simply replacing words from one language with words from another. Many jokes rely on cultural references, double meanings, or phonetic similarities that only exist in the source language. As a result, translators face several challenges, including wordplay, puns, cultural references, and culture-specific expressions. In audiovisual translation, these linguistic difficulties are further complicated by technical constraints such as lip synchronization, timing, and consistency with the images shown on screen. For this reason, a literal translation is rarely effective. Instead, translators must find solutions that recreate the comic effect for the target audience. To investigate these issues, I compared several scenes from the original English version of Friends with their Italian dub version. The aim of my research was to identify the translation strategies adopted by the dialogue adapters in order to preserve humor. More specifically, I focused on four main categories: wordplay, cultural references, sarcasm, and running gags, which are recurring jokes that become a distinctive feature throughout the series. Among all the examples I analyzed, I selected a few that clearly illustrate the main translation strategies used in the Italian adaptation. The first example concerns a conversation between Chandler and Joey. In the original version, Chandler says, "Pick a lane." However, Joey misunderstands the word lane as the female name Elaine and replies, "Who's Elaine?" The humor is based on a phonetic misunderstanding that only works in English. Since this wordplay cannot be reproduced in Italian, the translators chose to completely reformulate the dialogue. Although the original linguistic joke is lost, the Italian version successfully preserves Joey's naive and confused personality, which is one of the key sources of humor in the series. Another interesting example is Joey's famous expression, "It's a moot point." The joke comes from Joey confusing the expression moot point with moot point, referring to a sound a cow makes. In the Italian dub version, the translators chose a creative adaptation by translating it as "È solo un gran mu." Although the original linguistic reference is changed, this solution preserves the absurd nature of the joke as well as Joey's comic personality. Another important strategy concerns cultural adaptation. In one episode, Phoebe explains that she entered Monica's apartment because she had to run out of Doritos. In the Italian version, this reference is replaced with coffee, which is more familiar to an Italian audience. This strategy, known as cultural domestication, replaces a culture-specific element with one that is more accessible to the target audience. Overall, these examples show that translating humor is not about translating individual words, but about recreating the same communicative effect through different strategies. In conclusion, my analysis demonstrates that audiovisual translation is not simply a linguistic process, but also a process of cultural mediation. The translator's role is not to reproduce every single word of the original text, but to recreate its communicative function and evoke a similar response in the target audience. For this reason, translating humor ultimately means translating culture. Thank you for your attention.